Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing alright today. It makes me wonder these days what kind of shithole we're living in, quite frankly. I can understand why some people would decide to just either down tools or pick up them to some extent and then bugger off out the country. To be honest, I can't really blame anyone for that shit, because this country is effectively going down the toilet. As much as I don't want to say it, and as much as I don't want to be a pessimist, I'm never going to be an optimist, but I have to say things as I see them. That's just the way I'm built. I prefer to live off of honesty being the best policy, especially through my autism and what have you. But I'm not here to discuss my autism, I'm here to discuss the state of the country. Because obviously, as we've seen from all these last few weeks, we've seen riots, we've seen violence on the streets, we've seen kids getting stabbed, we've seen people getting gunned down in fucking wheelchairs by moped gangs. We have seen all manners of evil in this world, and unfortunately, it is only going to be exacerbated by the career politicians like Keir The Traitor Starmer and, of course, Sadiq Khan. People who believe that terrorism is part and parcel of living in a big city. People who believe that the real problem with this country is concerned parents and patriots. I have said before, I do believe there is a genuine far right out there. No quotation marks or air quotes or whatever. There is a real far right out there. It's called Islam. Islam, a fascistic, totalitarian, conquering religion that basically wants to subjugate the West and all other societies. There's a reason it's known as the conquering religion, and it is because of prime examples like Iran and Egypt. An intolerant religion that cannot tolerate gays, that will not tolerate trans people, that will not tolerate kafir or kafar or kerfuffle or whatever you want to call them, the non-believers. People who effectively see the left wing as useful idiots. Like, they would literally run over their own grandmothers just to make sure they advance the cause of Islam. They are the sorts of people who think that it is perfectly okay to breed within the family. They think it is okay to go and kill people who are non-believers, who are apostates, who are homosexuals, or basically do not want to conform to the warrior religion that is Islam. There are a lot of things wrong with this country. Those are just the main points that I've mentioned. As well as, of course, another main point, illegal immigration. Because let's face it, that has done a substantial amount of damage to our communities. But don't just take my word for it. Look what's been happening in places like London. Look over to France and see what happened to Paris when they accepted this migration. The governments accepted the migration. Because the French people, much like us, they don't want this shit. They probably weren't asked, and they probably wouldn't have wanted it if they were asked. That's the way I look at it. And it's the same here in the UK. None of us wanted shitloads of immigration. None of us wanted an intolerant religion. None of us wanted to be replaced by people from third world shitholes, bluntly speaking. But Keir The Traitor Starmer is doing everything he can to import the third world into this country. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. Do you think they're going to want to hear the ordinary public? Do you think they're going to want to hear the words, "You're being replaced"? Do you think they want to hear the words, "Islam, a terrorist warrior religion, organization, whatever you want to call them, is basically coming here to stay and erode your rights and destroy your freedoms and your liberties, while we also join them in that crusade"? Do you think they're going to fucking hear that from them? No, of course not. Because if the British public heard that shit, I tell you what, they'd be downing tools and picking up pitchforks immediately. They'd be coming out of their homes, quite rightly pissed off, wanting Keir the Traitor Starmer's head on a spike, bluntly speaking. Which I will, as always, I'll be very clear. I don't advocate for any violence against a politician. I don't advocate for violence against a police officer. I don't condone looting, pillaging, any of that shit. But I will completely understand why ordinary people may be driven over that cliff edge and go and do it. Doesn't make it right, but it makes it understandable why they're doing it. There is a big difference. But mainly, what it's come down to is we have a government that is completely intolerant of the very people that they are supposed to protect. Same with the two-tier police forces, or maybe I was right first time, who will basically go out and they will arrest or threaten with curry or favour. They will make politically based decisions. My English is failing me today, I'm sorry. Maybe I should make another coffee. Anyway, they are constantly making politically motivated choices. We've already seen that with people like Tommy Robinson. We've already seen that when a GB News reporter's been arrested for just showing up at a march. We've already seen that when Islam is running around with machetes in their hands and the police are telling them, "Can you just return those to the mosque, please?" I guarantee you that shit would not be happening if it was old Whitey holding those machetes, or perish the thought, and I'm not actually going to do it, let me be clear on that, or if I went out with a fuck-off great big kitchen knife and I was waving it around like it was some fucking sparkly thing, they would be over there. I'd probably have 6 officers pinning me to the ground. They'd probably have 6 officers. They would yank this fucking thing, quite rightly, out of my hands. I'd be arrested for possessing an offensive weapon, and I would basically be thrown in the slammer. Case closed. Or in this case, drawer closed. But with Islam, they're like, no, just dispose of them at the mosques. Basically, you can keep your weapons. How do you think that's going to go with the British public? Telling them that they're allowed to keep their weapons, but anybody who's got a small little kosh, for example, to defend themselves, oh, we can't have you holding that, sir, even if it is for your own self-defence. Two-tier policing, folks. And then, of course, we have the two-tier media, who want to portray everyone who went out on those protests. Bear in mind, some of them are, because some of these protests were hijacked by people who are thugs, who are violent, but the media tried to brand the other, let's say, 90% of the protests, when it was just a small section of 10% making all the fuss. They're trying to blame the other 90% alongside them as far right. Like I said, there's only one real far right here, and that is Islam. Don't try to tell me that there is an EDL, because they were disbanded at least 10 plus years ago. Tommy Robinson, there's even been videos circulated, I believe by Working Class Patriot, and if I can find it, I'll link it in the description below. But he even said, categorically, was interviewed, it's on fucking film, that Tommy Robinson said that basically when we've got people who are actually far right, again, no air quotes, they need to take them out. Basically, take them out of the group. Not actually physically kill them. But what happens is these people will end up getting violent with the people who are not violent. And it ends up being a struggle to get them out. But Tommy Robinson has done far more to combat the actual far right than any career politician or media combined. But that's something, of course, the mainstream media don't want to tell you, because that would embarrass them. And it's probably why, eventually, when I start growing to even bigger numbers, that I am probably going to have the boys sent round. And while, as I said before, they may not break my legs, they're probably going to break my bloody rights. Let's face it, the police will always serve the government. What we need is common law. What we need is a police force that is manned by the people, not the companies, not the corporates, not the traitors in the houses of treachery. I mean Parliament. Or again, maybe I was right first time. We need people who actually understand the law, who are actually trained properly in the law, and stop. Let me be clear on this next point. I don't mind if there's LGBTQ people. Let me be clear on that. If you're gay, if you're straight, if you're a lesbian, if you're bisexual, I don't give a fuck, quite frankly. Whatever your sexuality is, I couldn't care less. But when I have a problem is when people start trying to force the opinions down other people's throats. And more importantly, what we often see is the police are often told in training that any comments to the LGBTQ community descend on those people who are saying it like a ton of bricks. When, more often than not, it is simply people are rightly concerned that there are some LGBTQ things that are happening that are, shall we say, a little bit below the belt. There are things that are basically not very good for the image of LGBTQ. They preach for all this tolerance towards themselves, but then are intolerant themselves to us. But the police curry more favour with them and Islam than they do the British people, when, as I've said before, the police should be policing apolitically, without bias. But they never do. Not anymore. The police have lost standards, they've lost respect, they've lost credibility, and they've lost control. Islam runs rampant on the streets. Islam is literally telling the police where they can and can't go. There is anti-white graffiti being put on walls saying where we cannot go. And we're supposed to believe there are no Sharia no-go zones. Yeah. Let me just pluck something out of my arse real quick. Yeah, you can fuck off right now with that shit. Because there is no shot you are covering this up. There is no shot you are telling the British public that there are no no-go zones. There is no shot you're telling me that Islam is a religion of peace. You cannot say that there is no such thing as two-tier police, two-tier media, two-tier justice system, and two-tier governance. Because I will call bullshit on that faster than you can count to 3. I'm not going to sit here and let career politicians continue to lie through their teeth, and the mainstream media continue to bullshit us and libelously slander us. Remember, the mainstream media is supposed to report impartially and without bias the facts, the truth. They're supposed to report stories that are going on based off of facts, not fiction or opinion. That's the thing. But more often than not, the media are breaking every single day that goes by Section 2 of the 2006 Fraud Act, fraud by false representation, which is again something they don't dare tell you. And last time I checked, that is something that they can go to jail for, or at bare minimum face substantial fines. Because think about it, it can also link in to defamation and libel and slander, which they are most definitely guilty of, let me tell you. The fact they can go out of their way and label ordinary concerned parents and patriots who, I don't know, don't want their kids getting stabbed in the face. They're calling them far right, which is not true. The way I look at far right is people who genuinely believe in white supremacy, who behave akin to the Nazis, and basically see all other races or whatever, or colours, as inferior to them. And you wonder why people get pissed off with you, mainstream media, because you're trying to tar them with the white supremacy brush, effectively. I can tell you right now, there is no trace of white supremacy you will ever find in 99% of the British public. No fucking way. And I sure as shit don't have any. I'm not sitting here climbing up to the roof and shouting, "White supremacy!" from the top of the fucking roof. Because I fundamentally know that that would make me a racist, a bigot, a hypocrite, and an enemy of people like Tommy Robinson. Do you think I want to do that? Like fuck do I. But Keir the Traitor Starmer would do that. He would basically go out of his way and shout Sharia superiority, because that's basically what he's doing. Keir the Traitor Starmer is importing the third world and Sharia law and blasphemy laws into this country. The Nazis didn't invade the United Kingdom successfully through the front door, so Keir the Traitor Starmer is trying to bring Islam in through the back door. That's what makes this all so sinister. That's what makes this all so scary. The fact that we have politicians that are willing to lie through their teeth, libellously slander their own people, which their civic duty requires them to protect the realm and all of its inhabitants. Not just one section of them, which is what Keir the Traitor Starmer has done. He is protecting Islam. He is a sectarianist bastard. He is a traitor because he has stabbed the British people in the back and goes what a standard, principled Prime Minister would do. And he is a fascist because he is using the law to silence all political opposition so that they do not have a platform for which to speak. This is why I will always call him a fascist, a dictator, or again I was right first time I think, and of course a sectarianist bastard. Because unlike a lot of people, as I've said many times before, and you could probably say it with me at this point, I'm not going to sugarcoat a motherfucking thing. I'm not going to mince my words. I'm going to say it exactly how it is, and I will do my best not to bullshit you. And that is not hate speech, Keir the Traitor Starmer. That's facts. And last time I checked, Starmer, traitor, people should not be getting jailed because they decide they want to broadcast the facts.